Assalamualaikum and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Board of Directors meeting of Kekora Berhad. I hope that everyone is doing well. I'm AZMI as a chairman for today's meetings. Throughout this meeting, I will be assisted by my secretary, Ms. SUGANTHIPRIYA. Before we proceed, I would like my company's secretary, Ms. SUGANTHIPRIYA, to check the attendance and to check if a quorum is present.
Sure, Dr. AIDIL. We have all 5 directors physically present in this meeting room. However, I would like to verify the attendance. Please respond with a yes when I call your name, indicating that you attended this meeting. If there is no response upon being called, I will assume that you were not present. May I start?
Yes.
Dato' AIDIL AZMI bin ANUAR.
Yes.
Dato' AMIERA NATASYA binti Muhammad ZUHDI. Yes. Dato' Muhammad AIZAT bin ROSLI.
Yes.
Dato' FOONG. Yes. Dato' KAMALIA binti DAUD.
Yes.
With this, I confirm that the quorum is enough to fulfill the requirement as stipulated in the company's constitution, and the meeting may proceed.
Thank you, Ms. SUGANTHIPRIYA. Since the quorum is present, I hereby declare that the meeting duly convened. Next, may I have Ms. SUGANTHIPRIYA to read out the agenda for today's meeting.
Sure, Dato' AIDIL. Our agenda for today's meeting are: first of all, review and approve of audited financial statement and the related reports. Second, retirement and re-election of directors. Third, appointment of the auditor and young PLT. Fourth, discussion on special notice to remove and appoint a director. Fifth, approval of the authority to issue shares under Section 75 and 76 of the Companies Act 2016. Sixth, to discuss loan prior to the AGM approval. 7. Discussion on the new requirement regarding disclosure of beneficial owners. 8. Review of the notice of the AGM. 9. Resolution to hold AGM and authorize the secretary to issue notice. 10. Discussion on other matters. 11. Summarization of result. And lastly, adjournment of that meeting. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. SUGANTHIPRIYA. Does anyone have disagrees with this agenda? No. Thank you, Ms. SUGANTHIPRIYA. The first agenda item is a review of the fiscal year's audited financial statement. Given the importance of the topic, I would like to welcome Dato' AMIERA, who will present the highlight and finding from the audit report. Dato' AMIERA, over to you.
Thank you, Dato' AIDIL. Good morning to all respected board members. As part of my responsibilities, I have reviewed the audited financial statements prepared by Ms. Anis, our company's auditor, and I will now provide a summary of the key findings and highlights for the fiscal year ending September 30, 2024. To begin, I would like to confirm that the audit was conducted in accordance with the International Standards of Auditing (ISA) and all applicable laws and regulations. The audit aimed to provide reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free from material misstatements, whether due to fraud or error. Ms. Anis has shared the audited financial statements with all the directors, and copies have been provided for your reference. Please feel free to follow along as I present the highlights of the findings. Here are the main points from the audit. First is regarding the financial position. The company has recorded a net profit of Rm 8.5 million, which represents a 15% increase from the previous year's Rm 7.4 million. Second, on revenue and expenditure, total revenue for the year amounted to Rm 85 million, with operating expenditure of Rm 62 billion, resulting in an operating profit of Rm 23 million. Third is on compliance. The audit confirmed compliance with Malaysian Financial Reporting Standards (MFRS) with no significant violations identified during the audit. Fourth, observations. There is an area for improvement in internal inventory management controls. It has been recommended that the company implement a more efficient inventory management system to address inconsistencies and reduce inventory holding costs, which have increased by 12% compared to the previous year. I am happy to elaborate on any of these points or provide additional information as required. Thank you.
Thank you, Dato' AMIERA, for your detailed and insightful presentation. I appreciate the effort of compiling and presenting this information on behalf of Ms. Anis. Board members, You now have the opportunity to raise any question or seek clarification regarding the audited financial statement. Okay. If there is no further questions, we shall now proceed to the voting process for this agenda item. As in a physical meeting, we will conduct the vote by a show of hands. Ms. SUGANTHIPRIYA, please assist in counting and recording the votes.
Thank you, Dr. Aidil. Board of members, those in favor of approving the audited financial statement for the fiscal year ending September 30, 2024, please raise your hands. Okay, all votes have been counted. All agree with this agenda.
Thank you, Ms. SUGANTHIPRIYA. Since all directors are in agreement, I hereby declare that the audited financial statement for the year ended September 30, 2024 have been reviewed and approved by the Board of Directors. This statement will be presented for discussion at the upcoming AGM. Thank you, everyone. Let us now proceed to the next agenda item. Let's proceed with the next agenda, which is the retirement and re-election of the directors. Ms. SUGANTHIPRIYA, could you please explain further about these matters?
Alright, Dr. Aidil. Pursuant to Section 205, Subsection 3B of Companies Act 2016, 1/3 of the directors of the company shall retire from office by rotation at the annual general meeting. The directors to retire every year shall be the directors who have been the longest in the office since the director's last election. The retiring director shall be eligible for re-election. Currently, we have 5 directors on the board, but 2 directors representing 1/3 of the directors are the chairman, Dato' AIDIL AZMI bin ANUAR, who have been the longest in the office since his reappointment on 28 May 2022, and Dato' KAMALIA binti DAUD. Therefore, Dato' AIDIL AZMI bin ANUAR and Dato' KAMALIA binti DAUD will retire at the upcoming AGM and are eligible for re-election. Dato' AIDIL AZMI bin ANUAR and Dato' KAMALIA binti DAUD, do you agree to retire and accept the offer for re-election at the next AGM?
For me, yes, I agree to retire at the next AGM and agree to be re-elected as a director. How about you, Dato' KAMALIA?
I agree to retire at the next AGM and agree to be re-elected as director. Are there any questions from the floor?
No.
If there is no questions, we will provide with the voting sessions. Ms. Ria, please proceed.
Okay, so please raise your hand if you agree that Dato' KAMALIA binti DAUD and Dato' AIDIL will retire and be re-elected as a director of the company at the next annual general meeting. Okay, all votes have been counted. All agree with this agenda.
Alright. Since everyone agrees, I hereby declare that the resolution for the retirement and re-election of the company directors has been passed. We will bring this agenda to the next AGM. Let us proceed to the next item on the agenda. That is to appoint Ernst & Young PLT as the auditor of the companies. I would like to call upon Dato' KAMALIA binti DAUD to explain this. Dato', please proceed.
Thank you, Dr. AIDIL. I propose appointing Ernst & Young PLT as it has served as delivering high-quality audit services. Dr. AIZAT, do you have any thoughts or comments on this matter?
Yes, thank you, Dato' KAMALIA. I support the appointment of Ernst & Young PLT. It is because from our observation and research, they have demonstrated professionalism and proofness in their audit processes. Besides, their deep understanding of our operation has been beneficial. I believe their service will be carried out consistency and reliability in our audits. Any concern from other directors?
Thank you, Dato' AIZAT. There are no further questions or comments, please raise your hand if you agree with the reappointment.
Okay, all votes have been counted. All agree with this agenda.
Right, since everyone agrees, I declare that the resolution to appoint Ernst & Young PLT, this agenda will be presented at the next AGM. Thank you, everyone. Next item on the agenda is the special notice we received to remove Datuk Muhammad AIZAT bin ROSLI from his position as a member of the Board of Directors and appoint Datuk Sri Siti Aisyah binti Zulkifli in his place. Ms. Suganthipriyya, could you summarize the notice for everyone's understanding?
Yes, Dato' Aidil. The notice dated 15 November 2024 was requisitioned by shareholders holding an aggregate of 1,200,000 shareholders, ordinary shares. They proposed two resolutions for the AGM. First is that Dato' Muhammad AIZAT bin ROSLI be removed from his position. Second, Dato' Sri Siti Aisyah hereby appointed as a director of the company.
Thank you. Datuk Muhammad AIZAT, as the subject of this notice, would you like to respond before we open the floor for discussion?
Thank you, Dr. Aidil. I might express my disappointment with this development. I have consistently act in the best interest of the company, ensuring compliance, transparency, and ethical standard in all matters. While I respect the shareholders' right, I believe this move is unjustified and could disrupt the company's stability. I am open to addressing any specific concern raised.
I understand this is a sensitive matter. Dato' Aizat, could you elaborate on any potential reasons you believe might prompt this requisition? Are there any conflicts or decisions that might have led to this?
To my knowledge, there has been no misconduct or decision that would warrant such action. I suspect this may stem from differences in strategic direction or due to my often absent from meetings, which could be viewed as my incompetencies as a member of the Board of Directors.
Alright, Dato' AIZAT. Now let's discuss the requisitions further. Are there any comments or views from the board regarding the removal of Dato' AIZAT?
While I believe in shareholders' right to propose changes, I also think it is essential to evaluate the potential impact of removing a director who has contributed significantly to the company. We must ensure this decision aligns with the company's long-term goals.
I agree. Removing a director without substantial grounds could create instability and affect our reputation. It would be helpful to hear from the requisitionists regarding their rationale.
We will invite the requisitionists to address their concerns during the AGM. However, as a board, it's our duty to ensure the company's interests are protected. Does anyone else have specific objection to include this resolution in the AGM notice?
I don't object to presenting the resolutions, but I recommend we prepare a statement highlighting Dato' Aizat's contribution and the potential implications of this decision. This will provide shareholders with a balanced view.
That's a good suggestion. Ms. Suganthipriyya, please prepare a summary of Dato' AIZAT tenure, including key achievement in their alignment with the company's strategic goals. Ensure this is included in the circular to shareholders.
Understood. I will prepare the required documentation.
Now, regarding the appointment of Datuk Sri Siti Aisyah binti Zulkifli, do you have any insight into her backgrounds and suitability for the role?
Datuk Sri Siti Aisyah has a strong track record in the industry and could bring fresh perspectives. However, it is crucial to evaluate her experience and how it complements the current board expertise.
Agree. I propose we request a detailed profile from Datuk Sri Siti Aisyah binti Zulkifli and conduct a preliminary review before the AGM. All in favour? The resolution will be included in AGM agenda. We will ensure shareholders have all the necessary information to make an informed decision. Any further comment before we move on? Since there are no comment, to summarize, the resolution to remove Dato' AIZAT and appoint Dato' Sri Siti Aisyah will be included in the AGM agenda. A circular outlining the rationale, Dato' AIZAT's contribution and Dato' Sri Siti Aisyah profile will be prepared and shared with the shareholders to ensure transparency. Let's move on to the next agenda item. Now, let us proceed to the next agenda, which is the authority to issue shares for the upcoming AGM under Section 75 and 76 of the Companies Act 2016. Ms. Suganthipriyya, can you please explain more about this?
Certainly, Dato' AIDIL. According to the Section 75 and 76 of the Companies Act 2016, the company's directors have the authority to issue and allocate shares once the company obtains approval through the resolution. This authority comes into effect immediately upon the passing of the resolution and remains valid until the conclusion of the next annual general meeting of the company.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Secretarial. Please raise your hand if you agree with this agenda.
Okay, all votes have been counted. 4 over 5 agree with this agenda.
Alright, since majority agrees, we shall move to the another agenda. Let us proceed to the next item on the agenda, which is to discuss the advance funding requested by Datuk FOONG for an official trip to Beijing, scheduled from January 18 to January 30, 2025. Datuk FOONG will now present the detail of this matter. Datuk, you have the floor.
Thank you, Dr. AIDIL. Good morning, respected members. I appreciate the opportunity to present my request for loan. The upcoming trip to Beijing is a critical opportunity for us to expand our business presence, establish valuable partnerships, and explore new markets. The trip is planned from January 18 to January 30, 2025. And during this time, I will engage in key meetings with potential clients, attend industry conference, and participate in essential networking events that align with our strategic goals of market growth and positioning. To facilitate this trip, I'm requesting an advance of 19,400 ringgit to cover the following anticipated expenses: 3,000 ringgit for airfare, 6,000 ringgit for accommodation, 2,000 ringgit for ground transportation, 2,000 ringgit and 400 ringgit for meals and incidentals, 5,000 ringgit for registration fees for conference and events, and 1,000 ringgit for miscellaneous expenses. I assure you that this trip is aligned with our organization vision and will contribute significantly to our growth strategy. That's all from me. Now I would like to open the floor for any questions or comments.
Yes, I have a question. How do you plan to ensure transparency and accountability for the expenses incurred during the trip?
All expenses will be documented and supported by receipt. I will also submit a detailed expense report and comprehensive post-trip report outlining the outcomes and benefits achieved through the trip to Beijing.
Are there any risks associated with this trip, such as political, economic, or legal challenges? And how do you plan to mitigate them?
While Beijing is generally stable for business activities, I have researched the local economy and regulatory environment to ensure compliance and minimize risks. I will also consult with our legal team to address any potential concerns regarding international business agreements.
Okay, thank you for the explanation.
Alright, are there any further questions from the floor? Okay, we will bring this agenda to the next AGM. The next item for discussion is the dual beneficial ownership reporting requirements. Dato' AMIERA, could you provide an overview?
Certainly, Dato' AIDIL. So So as we know, the new regulations require companies to disclose beneficial ownership details to improve transparency and accountability. This will involve identifying individuals who own or control significant shares in the company, even if they do so indirectly. We need to ensure that our processes align with these requirements to avoid penalties.
What challenge do you foresee in meeting these requirements?
The primary challenge will be identifying indirect ownership structures and ensuring the accuracy of the data. We might also need to update our systems and train staff to handle these disclosures effectively.
Do we have any timeline for compliance?
Yes, the deadline is 31st March 2025. We need to start compiling the data immediately and ensure our reporting mechanisms are ready by then.
Thank you for the update. I propose we allocate resources to implement these challenges and schedule a follow-up meeting to review the progress. All in favor? Since nobody disagree, this agenda is now passed. Now, let's move on the next agenda, which is to review the notice of annual general meeting. I believe everyone has had the opportunity to review the draft of notice AGM that was circulated prior for this meeting. Are there any specific point or amendment that anyone would like to raise?
I have reviewed the draft notice and I believe it captures all necessary information regarding the AGM. I have no further comments to add.
I agree with Ms. Suganthipriyya. The draft notice seems comprehensive and covers all the required details for the AGM. I support finalizing it as presented.
Thank you for your feedback. Are there any comments? If there are no further comments or amendment to be made, I propose we finalize the notice of AGMs as discussed. Does everyone agree with this approach? Great. This agenda is now concluded. The next agenda is to discuss the resolution to hold the AGM and to authorize our group company secretary, Ms. Suganthipriyya, to issue the notice. As you all know, our 7th annual general meeting is scheduled to be held physically on Monday, 10 February 2025 at 10 a.m.
I have reviewed the arrangement for the physical AGM and everything seems to be in order, including the broadcast venue, remote voting facilities. With this, I believe we are ready to proceed with issuing the notice.
Thank you for your diligence, Ms. Suganthipriyya. It is very important that we to ensure our shareholders can participate fully in the AGM. Are there any other concerns, suggestions regarding the AGM arrangement?
No concerns from my end. I would like to confirm that the notice includes all necessary details, such as the date, time, and also instructions for the physical participation.
Absolutely. The notice is comprehensive and provides clear instructions for shareholders on how to participate and vote remotely.
Thank you, Dr. AMIERA and Dr. KAMALIA, for your feedbacks. It's reassuring to hear that the arrangement and notice details are comprehensive and inclusive. Ensuring clarity and accessibility for our shareholders is critical to the success of the AGM. If there are no any further comments or concerns, I would like to propose the following resolution. Resolve that the 7th annual general meeting of Kekora Berhad will be held physically on Monday, 10 February 2025 at 10 a.m. and that the group company secretary, our Ms. Suganthipriyya, is hereby authorized to issue the notice of AGM to all shareholders in accordance with the Companies Act 2016 and the company's constitution. May I request Ms. Suganthipriyya to lead the voting process?
Thank you, Dr. AIDIL. Directors, please to cast your votes. I will monitor the voting process. Dr. AIDIL, the resolution has been approved by majority of the directors.
Thank you, Mr. Secretarial. With the resolution carried out, I am hereby confirm that the 7th AGM will be proceed as scheduled, and the group company secretary is authorized to issue the notice. Ms. Suganthipriyya, please ensure that the notice is circulated at least 21 days prior to the AGM, as required under the Companies Act 2016. Additionally, please coordinate with the relevant teams to finalize and test the remote voting platform to ensure a smooth experience for all participants.
Certainly, Dato' Aidil, I will ensure the notice is issued promptly and all arrangements are double-checked to ensure seamless execution.
Thank you, Ms. Suganthipriya. On behalf of the board, I appreciate your commitment of managing this important aspect of our corporate governance. Are there any final questions or comments before we conclude these agenda items? No. Okay. Since there are no further comments, we shall now proceed to the next item on the agenda. I believe we have discussed on the agenda item for today's meeting. Before we conclude, are there any further matters or business to be discussed? Dato' AMIERA? Dato' KAMALIA?
No.
Dato' FOONG? Dato' AIZAT?
No.
Okay, thank you. Alright, Ms. Suganthipriya, before we conclude, could you kindly provide a detailed summary of key resolution and voting outcomes from today's meeting to ensure all directors are aligned?
Sure, Dato' Aidil. Dear Directors, I would like to summarize the key resolutions and voting outcomes from today's meeting. First, the audited financial statement for the fiscal year ended 30th September 2024, along with the reports of the Directors and the Auditors, were reviewed and approved by the all Board of Directors. Secondly, the proposal to appoint Dato' Sri Siti Aisyah binti Zulkifli as the Director of Tekara Berhad was passed. Thirdly, regarding the re-election and Directors, the re-election of Dato' AIDIL AZMI bin ANUAR was approved by all Directors, and the re-election of Dato' KAMALIA binti DAUD was also approved by all Directors. Fourth, the payment of fees to the non-executive directors up to 1,800,000 ringgit Malaysia for the period from the 7th AGM until the next AGM was approved. Fifth, the payment of benefits to non-executive directors, excluding fees, up to Rm 1 million for the same period was approved by majority vote. Sixth, the appointment of Ernst & Young PLT as a new auditor of the company was approved. Their tenure will extend until the conclusion of the next annual general meeting, with their remuneration authorized to be fixed by the board. On special business, 7. The resolution for the removal of Dato' Muhammad AIZAT bin ROSLI under Section 206 subsection 1B of the Companies Act 2016 and Article 111 of the Company's Constitution was passed. 8. The resolution granting authority to the board to issue shares in accordance with Section 75 and 76 of the Companies Act 2016 was approved by majority of the vote. 9. The loan request by Dato' FOONG was approved. 10. Finally, the board reviewed the company's beneficial ownership reporting compliance and no further amendments or actions were deemed necessary at this time. These resolutions and outcomes will be reflected in the minutes of today's meeting. Additionally, the finalized notice of the annual general meeting, including these resolutions, will be circulated to all stakeholders at least 21 days before the AGM as required under the Companies Act 2016. That's all from me. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, if there is no question, that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Suganthipriya, for that detailed and well-articulated summary. It ensures that we are aligned on today's decisions. Are there any further questions or comment on the summary provided? No. Very well. With all items discussed and summarized, I believe we can now move forward with the adjournment of the meeting. Alright, the date of our next meeting will be announced in due course. If there are no other questions or matters to discuss, I would like now to call for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I propose that the meetings be adjourned.
I second the proposal.
Thank you, Dato' KAMALIA and Dato' FOONG. With that, I hereby declare that the meeting is officially adjourned. On behalf of the board, I would like to thank everyone for your active participation and valuable contribution today. Please take care, and I wish you all a productive day ahead. You may now leave the meetings.
Thank you.